This is the TJ Trout Show.
Who do you think you're talking to when you talk to me that way?
Let's face it, you guys are ridiculous. You are loud, greedy, bloodthirsty, boorish.
On 96.3 News Radio KKOB.
You're a bunch of fat, oil-guzzling ham faces.
All right, once again, thanks for hanging out with us this Friday afternoon. TJ Trout here. 100 degrees. Well, at least it was.
It dropped a degree.
Not as bad as it's been. However, you know, if you're in your house and it's 90-something degrees out and your HVAC system isn't working, that's like torture, man.
Yeah.
That is like one of the circles of hell from Dante.
No doubt. No doubt.
So if that happened to you, call Daniels. Daniels Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Give them a call, or if you're having a plumbing emergency, give Daniels a call. Daniels Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, 505-898-8860. Or you can go to danielshvacnm.com. Again, if you're experiencing any of that, they can do what they did for me. They came over a month and a half ago, and they went up on my roof, took a look at what was going on up there, and they cleaned things up. They cleaned my filters. They tuned tuned my HVAC up, and it is running like perfection right now. And they can do the same thing for you if you need to have your equipment replaced. Trujillo. Anyway. Best warranty in the business on new equipment installs. That's 10 years parts and 5 years labor. Daniels backs and guarantees all their work. They have 24/7 round-the-clock emergency HVAC and plumbing service. Give them a call. You need some help. Daniels Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, 505-898-8860 or DanielsHVACNM.com.
All right.
Weekend, man.
All right, finally.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Kind of a long week, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, first full week for me, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on the line with us right now is former undercover DEA agent, administrator, and author, present-day author. That would be Mike Vigil. Hey, good to have you on.
Thanks, TJ. Thank you for having me.
So I just had District Attorney Sam Bregman on, and I must tell you that you have a fan in Sam Bregman. He's a big fan of you. He's a big fan of yours.
Well, let me tell you this, is that Sam Bregman is a stellar individual, and I am coming out as of now and endorsing him when he runs for election to the DA's office. And I'll tell you something. The first time I met Sam Bregman, I was very impressed with him because he shows empathy. He is very concerned about crime in the county, and apart from that, he's very proactive. And yeah, I know he's hired a lot of attorneys that are sorely needed, but the thing with him is that he wants to do a good job, and I know that recently he went to Mexico, met with Mexican officials. They loved him, and they quickly signed memorandums of understanding to share information, to work together. And I overheard some of the interview with Sam, and I know that he is, trying to develop a cohesive relationship between the law enforcement agencies, doing an incredible job as the head of the newly formed Crime Commission. So I would say that I don't care who's running against them. There's nobody that's going to be able to compete with Sam Bregman.
Well, one of the things he was talking about, and you just kind of mentioned that before, and this is something that you had said, you've said this forever, that law enforcement from the smallest towns in New Mexico up to the biggest towns in all different levels and functions of law enforcement need to communicate better. And he said he's trying his best to get that to happen.
Well, he is accomplishing that. It's a lot better than what it used to be. And I know that he meets with law enforcement heads here in the county in Albuquerque. So, he, like I said, very proactive. And I normally don't see that, with district attorneys or attorney generals. But Sam is one of a kind, and I will really, really support him when he runs for a DA, and I think it's 2024. But I can't say enough good things about Sam because I've dealt with law enforcement, I've dealt with prosecutors, and Sam is the best.
All right, great. Let's shift and talk about, obviously, the drugs coming over through our ports of entry. Tell me about the drugs coming in.
The drugs that are coming in through the ports of entry, TJ, basically run the entire gambit. As you well know, fentanyl, marijuana, methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine, and we have about 320 land, sea, and air and rail entry points coming into the United States. So it is a very difficult task. The CBP officers are very proactive. They use proactive methods of drug detection every day to try to find illegal drugs at the ports of entry. And they employ, different tactics and technology rather than a worthless physical barrier like the Trump wall. Some are simple, like a mirror on a stick, and then others are complex, like truck-sized X-ray scanners. A lot of people know that most of the drugs that come into the United States come in through the ports of entry, especially the land ports of entry.
Yeah.
But they don't know why. Until recently, only about 17% of trucks were being searched at these ports of entry and about 3% of passenger vehicles. That is nothing.
Right.
So it's no surprise that the primary routes are through the land ports of entry, but now they're getting, high imaging scanners. They're getting more technology. Why? Because recently, CBP, Homeland Security, started working with technology companies to come up with better scanners. And they've purchased over $500 million of this equipment. So by the year 2026, they'll be able to scan not only not 17%, but 70% of the trucks and about 40% of the passenger vehicles. It's not perfect,
Yeah.
but it's still a hell of a lot better than what it's been.
Okay. All right. That's crazy. The numbers right now are crazy. What? Yeah, I don't know why I thought about it. What about drug sniffing dogs? Do those work?
No, when you take a look at dogs, they're pretty intelligent.
Yeah.
Very unlike Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, and
Wow.
and they
Wow.
and they understand what their handlers want
Yeah.
and what it takes to get a treat.
Yes.
So
Right.
many of the dogs alert at an amazing about 93% of the time, and only about they're only accurate about 59.5% of the time. And those are very accurate figures. Apart from that, dogs get very tired, and then with the excruciating heat wave that we're suffering, they can only be out there for a very short period of time before they start to suffer from heat stroke.
Sure. Well, yeah, you don't even think of that. I mean, they're not machines. They're animals. Right.
No, they're not. And quite frankly, even a human being that's being stuck
Right.
out there searching vehicles or pedestrians coming into
Sure.
the United States, that's very daunting.
Right. Let's stop for a second, Mike. Actually, I know you're not a big fan of you're not a big fan of Greg Abbott. However, Gabe had just handed me something I want to read to you about Greg Abbott and fentanyl that just came out, and I want your take on this.
Sure.
All right, sure. We got former DEA undercover agent, administrator, and author Mike Vigil with us. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Traffic, 90.
We're all juggling life, a career, and trying to build a little bit of wealth. The Brown Ambition Podcast with host Mandy and Tiffany the Budgetnista can help.
HGTV's Paige Turner.
People are wanting to buy a home. Is it a buyer's market? Is it seller's market? Is it neither?
It's neither. If you're in a position to buy a home, and if it makes more sense to own than to rent at this time in your life, then buy the house. Just don't buy the house thinking in 6 months you're going to make a $400,000 profit off of it, because that's not there anymore.
Brown Ambition.
Wherever you listen.
63 News Radio, KKOB, hold on. We're back with former undercover DEA agent and administrator and author Mike Vigil. So I want to talk a bit about Governor Abbott in Texas. Number one, before I get into the story, I guess you got to take the good with the bad, Mike. I think he's totally mishandling what's going on with the border right now. I think that those floating barriers are atrocious. They're maiming people right now, and that's why the feds are suing the state of Texas over this. What they're doing to some of these migrants.
Well, let me comment on that just a few seconds.
Yeah.
You know what kind of a monster does that? Where he orders the police in Texas to push kids back into the waters. By putting those buoys with barbed wire, it forces these families that are seeking a better way of life, carrying small children, infants, and pushes them into deeper and fast-moving waters so that they can drown. What kind of a human being does that?
Yeah, it's an abomination. It's atrocious.
And apart from that, I think that Greg Abbott needs to understand that Texas was once part of Mexico. So, if he wants to push them back, why doesn't he leave and go to where he came from?
Right. Yep. There was no excuse for any of that. None whatsoever. However, I do want to make you aware of this. I don't know if you saw this. He did just sign 4 bills into law to fight the fentanyl crisis, which a couple of things the bills do will prosecute fentanyl deaths as murders and ensure that death certificates reflect when people are poisoned by fentanyl. I think those two things are important. So that is going on down there.
Well, here's the thing, is that is already taking place. And, at the federal level, you charge somebody with murder if they sold a lethal drug to an individual. So that is really nothing new.
Okay.
And apart from that, he needs to work together with the Democrats. The Republicans and Democrats need to work together, simply because I look at Greg Abbott as saying that most of the fentanyl and drugs are being brought in by migrants across the border, which is an absolute lie.
Yeah.
Again, the drugs are coming in through the ports of entry, but he wants to do everything possible to really damage and malign the immigrants. And most of the problems that, creating this migration to the U.S. border, the United States created, for Christ's sake.
Right, for sure. And he's going to double down on this too. I mean, he's certainly not going to back off on maiming people at the border. He'll find an excuse.
Well, the thing is that he's trying to throw meat to his ignorant base, but again, I look at him as a monster and a complete criminal.
Wow. Okay. Them's fighting words. You just heard them from.
You know me. I don't mince words.
No, you don't. And actually, you're one of the few people that I have on this. Well, not that I have on this show, but few people that I know that talk about this stuff that I truly trust. So, and that is certainly a compliment for you because you know what the hell you're talking about. So.
Well, the thing is that I've been there, done that, and I've been around the block probably 1,000 times.
You have. All right, we got plenty more to talk about, Mike. As always, we're probably not going to have enough time to talk about it all. But
can I also mention about the death penalty?
Yeah, we got about a minute here if you want to.
Yeah, I can cover it less than that. I heard what Sam Bregman said, and I totally agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people that say that the death penalty acts as a deterrent. It doesn't. There's been buku studies which show that, the death penalty has never been a deterrent for example, homicide. Secondly, the death penalty has always been applied in a very how would I put it, difficult situation where it's applied primarily to minorities. And a lot of the minorities have been innocent, and they found this out after they were put to death. And, I don't think that criminals will go to a law library and research and say, okay, well, if I commit burglary, what am I going to face?
Right.
They don't look at that. They look at just, they're focused on doing the crime.
Right. All right. Hold on. We got to do news and traffic. I want to come back and continue this conversation with Mike Vigil. All right. 96.3 News Radio, KKOB. Hold on. All right, we're back, and we got Mike Vigil with us. Like I say, Mike, we're always running out of time. We don't have enough time to talk about everything. But let's look at Mexico. And you were telling me that Mexican pharmacies now are being used by the cartels. Is that true?
That is true. There's a lot of pharmacies, for example, all along the coast, and where the tourists flock every year, the coastline.
Yeah.
And they have found that a lot of the pharmacies are now selling highly addictive opioid painkillers, which mimic Oxycontin, Vicodin, as well as other prescription drugs resembling Xanax, Adderall. And the problem is that a lot of these pills are counterfeit, and they're laced with fentanyl and methamphetamine.
Great.
As a matter of fact, I've got a film crew coming in to interview me on this tomorrow here in Albuquerque. And the problem is that an Oregon man bought oxycodone at a Mexican pharmacy a few weeks ago and then died from fentanyl a few days later. So I suspect that the cartels are going to the pharmacies and saying, look, you are going to sell our counterfeit drugs. They're laced with fentanyl, and you will sell them. You'll get a certain percentage, and if you don't sell them, we're going to kill you or we're going to torch your business. So they have the power of intimidation. But I wanted to say this is that people that go into Mexico to buy prescription pills, because they're much cheaper there, have to be aware of this, because now, they may be buying something that, could kill them. And a lot of times they can tell if they're counterfeit pills just by looking at the markings. The markings are not as clear as in regular medicine, and if you put them between your thumb and your finger, they'll crumble. So, they have to be really careful about buying any drugs at any pharmacy in Mexico. And the problem is that the Mexican government is not doing anything right now to try to control this.
Fantastic. It's scary too. We got to take another break, but it's scary too. You think, okay, you go down to Mexico on a vacation, and you're windsurfing, and you break your arm, and you need a painkiller.
Exactly. You don't know what you're getting, and could prove to be fatal.
Fantastic. Just something else we got to worry about going down to Mexico about. Thanks for no way. The thing is, it's important information that you're giving us, and
and I hope that your listeners listen to this. If they happen to go to Mexico, be really careful what you buy at the pharmacy.
All right, you know what I want to talk. You know what I want to talk about, and it's weird because fentanyl's in all the headlines. What happened? What happened to heroin? Hold on. Hold that thought because we got to do traffic. We got to do traffic, Mike. We'll come back and tell me about what's going on with that. All right, traffic coming up. 96.3 News Radio KKOB. Hold on. All right, we're back with former undercover DEA agent, administrator, and author Mike Vigil. So, Mike, back in the day, years and years ago, we all were aware of the horrible heroin problem that the state has, specifically in northern New Mexico. It was a huge deal, and you don't hear about it as much anymore because everything is switched up. Everything's fentanyl. So what's actually going on now with heroin?
Well, you're right. Most of the crisis right now is fentanyl, but heroin has not gone away. For example, about a year and a half ago, we lost 13,000 Americans to heroin overdoses. And the number of heroin involved overdoses was nearly 7 times higher in 2020 than it was in 1999. So that gives you an idea. Heroin is still here, but it's not as prevalent, obviously, as fentanyl.
Right. We've talked a bit about this before. In everything that's going on right now with the cartels, Mexico, everywhere where the drugs are the problem. How much is China involved in all of this?
China is heavily involved simply because they're the ones that create they make fentanyl, but they also, more importantly, supply the precursor chemicals to the Mexican cartels. And the Mexican cartels deal with over 90 chemical companies in China. And what they're doing is they're using cryptocurrency to facilitate the purchases of these precursor chemicals because cryptocurrency, transactions are instantaneous. You still have a little bit of anonymity, even though through the blockchain, which has reams of information, experts can trace those transactions. But the Chinese are still engaged in it. For example, the 90 companies that I just mentioned, recently sold enough precursors in exchange for, crypto to produce $54 billion worth of fentanyl pills. That's enough to kill 9 billion people. 9 billion people.
Yeah, the whole earth.
Yes, exactly. So the thing is that the Chinese are involved, but here's the problem, is that everything is based on how well the U.S. and China are getting along in terms of the efforts that they take against these chemical companies. But even so, they don't have the adequate laws to deal with this problem, and then their regulatory institutions are very fragmented, so that, even if they wanted to shut it down tomorrow, they're going to have a very difficult time. And even if they shut it down tomorrow, it would quickly shift over to India.
India! Oh, fantastic! Great.
Yeah, because India is in a very strategic location. It's got access to the Indian Ocean.
Right.
It's highly industrialized, and they are also producers of chemicals and also fentanyl. So that would you would have a quick ship from China into India without question.
Well, that's some more good news. Hey, we got to take another break. Thanks for that, Mike. I appreciate that. All right, we got that traffic coming up, and we'll wrap it up on the other side. 96.3 News Radio, KKOB. Hold on.
We've got a new accident to report.
All right. Mike Trujillo and I were like just lamenting on it's all going to hell. But, I thank you for being on, because I tell you what, the step towards improvement is hearing these facts from you. And then hopefully we as a society can act upon those facts and get something done. You would hope.
Well, I want to thank you and KKOB for creating public awareness so people know that if you go to Mexico, be very careful of the violence. Be careful of medications that you buy at pharmacies. So thanks to you, TJ, and your crew there, that you create a lot of public awareness, and that is taking one huge stride in terms of combating these situations.
Okay, 1 minute left. Tell me once again about the 100 Club.
The 100 Club is doing a fantastic job. Unfortunately, recently we lost an officer in Alamogordo. My deepest condolences to the family of Alamogordo police officer Anthony Ferguson. He was recently killed in the line of duty. And a poem came, or a saying came to my mind this morning, and it's fallen heroes remain iconic figures through their devout patriotism and loyalty. The nation's progress of today and the nation's growth is made possible by the foundation they built with great sacrifice, and that was Anthony Ferguson, who was a true hero. The 100 Club went and visited with the family, presented them with a check to help them with expenses. So that is what the 100 Club does. They provide a lot of support to first responders, and it's a great, great organization.
All right. We got to end it there, Mike. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thanks, TJ.
And giving us all that information. I really appreciate it. Next time you come on, you can scare us some more.
Well, now that I made your weekend, have a good weekend.
Yeah, you do the same, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, take
Bye-bye.
care. Take care. Bye-bye. He is, it's funny. He is an asset to this show. One of the baddest asses I've ever known.
Yeah.
I mean, scary bad, but I mean, in a very positive way.
Yeah, and I hear what both of you are saying, and I happen to agree with both of you. It has to be talked about.
Yes.
In a good forum where it's intelligent and respectful.
Indeed. Thank you again, Mike Vigil, for being on this show for all the years. All right, 96.3 News Radio, KKOB. Hold on.